Let's see what Fox Local has for the story.
His life taken while at Rocking Horse Ranch childcare, allegedly by an employee who had been there just 3 weeks. Harvey died in September after the accused employee called 911 when Harvey stopped breathing. The little boy died at the hospital. But this incident wasn't isolated. Just 2 hours before Harvey died, another Rocking Horse child was taken to the hospital with the same symptoms. And that same child had been at the hospital just a few days earlier as well.
Hey guys, today we're going to look at a couple clips from Flegus Talks. We're going to look at his urban decay section. And what we're seeing is the world that the left has created for us with open borders and immigration, as well as the post-George Floyd politics of legal enforcement, the totally insane crimes that are unfolding as a result of liberal policies from the political left. And this really all unfolded post-George Floyd, but the groundwork was set previously in the structural aspects of our legal system with the careful and strategic placement of judges. Let's get into the clips. This isn't going to be a happy one, but it's important to know what's going on.
All right, our last story of urban decay is a very sad story. Can you lead us into it?
Dark story. 11-month-old Harvey Mucklebust was suffocated to death at a daycare in Minnesota. Daycare worker Thea Russell was just arrested and allegedly told police she did it for attention.
A 4-month-old child who's briefly not breathing and was found with blood and foam under her nose and mouth. By the time officers arrived, the child was breathing again and was being transported to the hospital by the parents.
At the time, doctors believed that child had suffered some sort of medical issue. But through the investigation, police could see the common thread was the 18-year-old employee who ultimately confessed to suffocating the children in an attention-seeking act. Police adding she had a documented history of attention-seeking behavior,
including her making multiple 911 calls, reporting nonsensical incidents, and simply hanging up. Also learned were past incidents involving starting fires at a church camp and erratic behavior toward other children.
So this is who's watching your kids. And the kids that were injured, the one who died was 11 months and the other one was 4 months. Imagine dropping a 4-month-old off to that woman.
Crazy. And there's a couple lessons in here. One, if you're white, don't use black daycare workers. Just try to avoid it. Honestly, like there's too much racial tension in America right now. That's like not PC or whatever, but just like stay within your own race, probably. I've seen too many stories of kids with beatings, bruises, whatever. And then the other lesson in this is always press charges. When you see someone with like shitty behavior, like, oh, she had a history of just calling 911, she lit some fires, and then we let her get a job at a daycare with a bunch of under 1-year-olds. How the fuck does that happen, right? So it's like press charges. It's your duty to follow through. Go be a witness if someone's a criminal towards you, because you're not just doing it for yourself, but you're maybe preventing them from getting a job later that would give them access to innocent, vulnerable people. But you're like starting a paper trail, right?
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, the other lesson is maybe mom stays home from work.
That's the takeaway. It's stay home with your kid season, even if it means you make less money and you have to maybe struggle to make ends meet. What's more important than staying home with your 11-month-old? And you're going to give your 11-month-old to that woman that you don't even know who's a literal criminal?
There's this weird middle zone, right? Like say, let's take a range of women, right? Say this woman is a corporate law attorney who's like on her way to become partner and she makes $400,000 a year. Yeah, you're going to go back to work after the baby, right? But you're also going to pay a fucking live-in nanny who's sick and you've interviewed 10 of them and you kind of are a corporate, like...
And it's expensive.
You're a corporate grinder, it's expensive. And then there's the mom who makes like 50, 60, 70K in that range with like a good job that she likes. Maybe it has some good benefits and that's why she does it. But then when you pay for childcare and you pay for everything, it's like you're really netting like maybe 25K a year or 20K a year. So like that math, you have to be constantly like evaluating, like, is it worth 20K a year and then my kid's with a stranger? Probably not, you know? And this family looks so nice. These people are like normal. Like it's just horrible.
Yeah.
And, there's the grandma back there. It's like just one of those decisions that kind of almost haunts you forever. And, you don't want to learn from your mistakes. You want to learn from other people's. And I don't know if this was a mistake or if they even knew this girl worked there, this scumbag. But that's why we talk about it on the show, because there's something to learn from it, right? And we have a lot of people who are constantly just had their first kid or, just got married. And so we want to harp on that.
This situation is so unbelievably tragic, and there's another layer to it, which is this is happening with increasing frequency, and it isn't shown by the news. Animals will always behave like animals, and that's unfortunate, but it's predictable. You can account for their behavior, and you can respond in turn and protect yourself. What is unpredictable in this situation is that a system that we were taught to trust, which is our legal system, is essentially at war with its own people. We've entered a state of anarcho-tyranny where the roles are inverted. The most violent criminals are treated as sanctimonious, and the most benign crimes, such as getting traffic tickets, are enforced with absolute authority. The structural aspect of our legal system was always open to the attack vector of centralized corruption. Judges have far too much unilateral power in terms of influencing the outcome of legal decisions, and that was always an open attack surface that was there for a predator to take advantage of and exploit. George Soros is the most commonly named perpetrator. But the real point here is that the game theory of our legal system is broken to its core. It's a centralized authority mechanism that can easily be corrupted. And once it is corrupted, it creates a leveraged outcome on the well-being of our society as a whole. It's one of the areas in our government where if you were a bad faith actor and you were probing for weakness, you would immediately recognize that you can get the most bang from your buck by co-opting the legal system. And that's a sign of broken game theory. We're going to look at one more clip from Urban Decay and just take notice of how brazen this guy is. He actually publishes his crimes on social media and brags about them. And that's signal. That's really useful data that he's so brazen. It shows you the point that we are at in this developmental process of societal decay. It gives you a clue about what's coming tomorrow so that you can be proactive instead of simply reacting to a situation you didn't expect. So pay attention to the signals.
All right, our next story, we have an illegal drunk driver who's been cited multiple times, killed people from drunk driving, and he has an entire social media presence that makes jokes about drunk driving.
Let's play the video.
So here's him, I believe, getting his ankle monitor on or off?
Off. And he posts it on TikTok. Here he is getting pulled over by police for having no license.
For having license.
He just looks at the camera like, oh, here he is filming his empty Modelos and Pacificos. Real Mexican beer guy.
So literally drinking and driving. He makes videos about
He's in the driver's seat.
Yeah, here he is literally drinking and driving.
Chugging a Modelo 40. So the guy's just a drunk illegal. All his captions are in Spanish. And of course, he was in California, so he was allowed to stay. Brian Alva Rodriguez, an illegal alien previously ordered, removed, and convicted of 2 DUIs, is now charged with a 3rd DUI in the death of an 8-year-old girl. And social media shows all of his drinking and stuff, which we just showed you here.
And here's the crash of the 8-year-old girl.
He crossed a double yellow line and hit I think, Camry head on. And a little girl was killed because of it. And this is what I mean by like ICE going into the neighborhoods. The guy had an order of removal after 2 DUIs. And Sanctuary State Gavin Newsom doesn't turn him in, doesn't cooperate with ICE or anything. And he kills an 8-year-old girl in California.
Yeah, we can steal Maduro in the middle of the night, but we can't get this guy out.
Crazy.
I'm just going to leave off on a familiar note. The only real rules of the game are the rules of Darwinian fitness, and those rules include deception just as much as brute force. Do yourself a favor. When something around you isn't making sense, when you can't quite figure out why, for example, the legal system doesn't enforce laws against criminals, but enforces it against everyday citizens, just model out 2 versions of reality. Model one version where the agents you're observing are acting in good faith, and then model another version where any one of those agents could be acting in bad faith. As you're simulating the outcomes of these 2 different models, just compare the results of those simulations against the reality that you actually observe, and the one with the higher fidelity, go with that model. So the point I'm trying to make is that people lie. Deception is just as useful, if not more useful, than brute force in terms of conquering a people and dominating the free will of others in general. I'll cut myself off there. I appreciate you watching the video, and if you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe, and help the channel grow.